Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.
Coming up, making moments matter, one mother, one child at a time. St. John's program for real change works around the clock to break the cycle of homelessness for women and children. Inside the sprawling campus where struggle turns into strength. The new leader is my guest next.
And now, Rob on the Road, exploring Northern California.
Joining me now is Julie Hirota. Julie is the CEO of St. John's Program for Real Change. Julie, it is great to see you.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's just a pleasure to be here today.
What a year to start as a new CEO, especially in an organization that deals with people who are experiencing tremendous struggles already in life. And then you add COVID on top of that. You began in May, end of April.
That's right. Yeah, it's a real interesting time for anybody to go through any kind of change, just because we are all experiencing some radical changes. But it allowed me to see St. John's, I think, in a very intimate way.
What did you see?
I got to spend a lot of time, I still get to spend a lot of time with our women, understand their stories, spend a lot of time with their children. And we learn from each other about different struggles as well, because we're all together and we're constantly depending on each other in a very close environment. The struggles that these women are facing are so much like the struggles we're all facing. They have extra, obviously, because they're recovering and trying to get past homelessness and build skills for themselves. But the social and emotional impact that this has had on all of us is happening quite deeply at St. John's as well.
You know, that is something so incredibly important to point out, because the stress of what's going on in the world today does not just impact people who work and who are housed. It impacts everybody.
Yeah, and you know, what I'm so incredibly proud of, and one of the things that I've gotten to experience, is how dedicated everyone who contributes and works with and volunteers for St. John's. Because even though we're all going through our own personal struggles and having to make changes rapidly in our own lives, the commitment is still there from the community. The commitment is there from our volunteers, our board of directors, more than ever. And the folks that show up, the staff that show up every single day to do what's best for the women and the children that are there, it shows true commitment and the real reason why St. John's is such a strong program, because everyone wants to see these women and their children succeed.
How do you run a program, day-to-day operations, that is so tight with the human connection and physical location, such as St. John's program, during a pandemic, when you have to maintain social distancing and safety measures, but yet you're bringing people off of the street and into a place of hope? How do you do that?
How do we do that? That's a great question. Well, one of the things is what I try to tell everybody is we're one big house. We're one big family. So when women and children are brought into St. John's for the first time, obviously we're going through a lot of the quarantining processes and making sure that everybody's at a level where they're healthy enough to be with the remainder of the population. But we're also taking careful precautions, just like any person would within inside the organization. But we really do operate like a family, because that intimacy and that closeness and that dependency on trust is necessary to make the program work. And the way we build that, you know, is through our communication, through our social interactions with each other.
You know, you do your quarantine process and your integration process, if you will,
Right.
Then what?
And then once the women are integrated in the community, they're really invited as part of the family. They become part of the family. And so we actively work on the social and emotional trust between the staff and the women that are coming into the program, as well as integrating the new women in with the women who are already in the program. It's a delicate process, and we're very sensitive to what everyone is going through. But it's also very scary. So we build that trust. We try to build that trust as quickly as possible, while taking all the necessary precautions that we need to do to keep everyone healthy and safe.
Is it working?
It's working. It's working. Yes, we've been healthy so far, and that's due to the great work everyone puts in every day, taking care of their personal responsibility when they come into St. John's, and also, taking care of all the necessary hygiene that's required during COVID. And, it's become all of our new way of doing things, hasn't it?
It has. And I'm realizing something as we're speaking, that when all of this began, the pandemic, and people were told to work from home, distance, isolate, stay away. And I wondered, well, what will St. John's do? But it actually reaffirms what you do, because you already take the family approach.
Right. We take the family approach, and when I started there, the staff was at a reduced capacity coming on site, and there was somewhat of a rotation coming in. And then little by little, we started integrating more staff as was needed based on our population there. Also what's needed based on the social emotional need by the women. And I don't want to discount the social and emotional need from the staff. Because of the work that we do, it plays a role in all of our lives. It can play a stressful role sometimes because of the work that's being done. And so it's important that as staff members, we're here for each other also, and that we're taking those necessary steps to check in, to see each other, to make sure we're all feeling not just healthy on the outside, but healthy on the inside.
So how many people are in the program right now? Did you have to scale back? Were you allowed to grow? What was the impact of COVID for you? What is the impact?
Well, I have to say the biggest impact, and I don't have enough history to describe what we usually see, but what I'm seeing is that I'm told that there's usually a lot of movement into the program in terms of referrals from other programs, women coming directly from the streets or the environment they were currently in. Homelessness for women sometimes looks very different than what homelessness might look for from men. So they're spending a lot of time with different people in their community, in their cars, going from house to house, sofa to sofa. A lot of those transitions were stopping, and so the intake became a little slower. That is good, because we have to make sure we're separating everyone as they come in, and that they have their own safe place and properly quarantined for quite some time before they're integrated. So the census is a little lower than normal, so that we can have that space and we can give that time. But we're still seeing families come in. Actually, the head count is starting to grow quite quickly these last couple of weeks. And
as things open up, it's interesting you say that, because it sounds like it sort of plateaued for a moment. And by plateau, I don't mean anything except for it didn't keep rising, right. Because everyone, including people who were dealing with homelessness, they lost their resources for a while. Right. And so everything stopped.
Right. And women were exiting the program, I think for unusual reasons, or maybe not unusual reasons, maybe perfectly good reasons for pandemics. And that was worried, right, about where they were going to go after. So I know that I can go somewhere right now, so I'm going to go there right now, just in case I don't have that opportunity 2 or 3 months from now. So it's been an interesting time. I think the staff has been very mindful of trying to, make some trend out of it or try to understand it. And my approach is we just take one day at a time. Let's not try to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's prepare, but let's just take one day at a time and honor the time that we have. So,
you know what? That's very beautifully said. If that is a message of 2020.
Yeah. It's, we focus so much on the future. And I think, St. John's program for Real Change is about a future. It's about building your future. It's about creating that hope and that destination where you're going. But I want to make sure we don't lose track of what we have right now and what we have today. And we continue to celebrate what's exactly right in front of us. These women have a place to stay. They're learning new skills every day. They have a community that supports them within St. John's and a community that's ready to embrace them when they leave. And one of the most interesting things that I've observed and in the moment was we have community meetings every week where about 15 or so of our staff members get together and we have a collective discussion about each and every woman and child that's in the program. We talk about what is she doing today? Where is she succeeding? Where does she need help? How can we get her there tomorrow? What are the successes we can celebrate with her? And Rob, I don't think there's anybody well, I know in my lifetime where 15 people sat around a table to talk just about me and how to help Julie. And that's what's so remarkable. And one of the secrets to the success of the program is that we look at what's happening right this moment. And we spend that time on each and every woman, every single week, every single moment we're there, because each moment there is important and it can go one way or the other, right? And so let's just spend time on now.
That is just so refreshing to hear about focusing on the moment at hand, and then you put all hands on deck for each person's moment. And it helps raise, all boats. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? But what do you do when it's tough for every one of those people you're talking about?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with what tough means to someone is oftentimes the fantasy of what could happen or a review of the past of what's happened. And so again, coming back to the message of the moment and now, and this is the way I've begun living the last several years, is that we can't beat ourselves up for yesterday and the week before and how we got where we are. It doesn't matter how we got where we are. We're right here, right now. We're healthy, we're safe, we're in a good place. And now to keep our minds in that good place, we can't think about what's next. We can't think about, I don't think I can do that. And so I find a lot of times when I'm talking with clients, when I'm talking with the great people that I work with, or where I spend most of my time, which is talking to myself, right, in my own head, it's easy to get discouraged. COVID has made things really difficult, as if it weren't difficult before. And so by looking at what's happening right now, it's almost impossible to say, it's all over, this is horrible. It really has to be, what do I have right in front of me? And so that's how we're getting through these. We're getting through it piece by piece. When things may seem the worst, things may seem the worst for some woman at St. John's, all they have to do is look around and watch everybody that's supporting them.
That is a beautiful,
that's the glimmer, right?
It is. And I love your moments matter approach. That is a fundamental building block of any type of personal or professional rehabilitation, being in the now. And one acronym I learned about being in the moment is, how do you be in the now? That's a hard thing. People who, if you haven't practiced it, but how can be an acronym: honest, open-minded, and willing to the moment. Not to yesterday and not tomorrow, but to the moment.
The
And if
moment.
we're honest about this moment and we're open-minded and willing to be in this moment, we realize that it's okay.
You know, and we learn at a very young age to look forward, right? And look, and also look backwards. Oh, I failed because of this. I'm never going to be good at baseball because I can't hit the ball. I saw it a lot when I used to volunteer in classrooms quite a bit. And when I volunteered both in math classrooms and I volunteered both in art classrooms. And the same thing happened right around fourth grade. And that was the children in the classroom, they'd look around, they'd see what other kids were doing in the art class, and they'd start comparing themselves to what was right next to them. And they suddenly had made a decision, I cannot be an artist. And instead of looking at where they've come and how far they've come, they look at what are they doing and how come they can do it better. And so this dialogue starts really, really young on making decisions about our competencies and our capabilities and what we're able to learn. And coincidentally, it happens in math right around the same age. So what I found with kids especially, and then as they become adults, they've decided I can't be an artist or I'm not good at math. And I'm sure you've heard that before. And those are kind of the two areas that we hear the most about from folks that have made a statement about themselves. So if you think about the women that are in St. John's, they may have made these decisions about themselves a really long time ago of what they're capable of or what they think they are or who they think they are. And I like to say, well, look where you are today. You're here in the program. Isn't that a great thing? You made a decision to make a difference, to change, to break the cycle of poverty, and you're doing it here for yourself, or you're doing it here for you and your kids. And so by looking at what's happening right now and forgetting about the past and what you think about the future, you can do a lot better.
I heard you say just a few minutes ago in the conversation that a few years ago you began intentionally living this way.
Right.
How has your life changed?
It's almost like a 180, and I'll try not to get too emotional about it. I think, like many people, it's easy to be a self-critic. Mm-hmm. And if you let that inner critic take over, it can be very, very difficult. So I changed some of my habits. I changed some of my practices. I changed what I listen to on my way to work in the morning. And I spend a lot of time being very mindful and paying very attention on how my mind is affecting my physiology, my mood, how I talk to myself, how I talk to other people. And I read a really, really great book that my daughter gave to me a couple of years ago. And it made all the difference in the world. And that's when I started paying attention to right now. And right now, I'm okay, right? And when you start building up all this stuff inside of you, oh, I'm never going to be a this, or I'm never going to get a that, which is a lot of the women I spend time with, which is most of the women I spend time with. And you don't give yourself the chance to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm okay. I'm okay. Once you can do that, things start to change.
You know, Julie, I have to tell you, this is a very safe space to be vulnerable. And people are desperate for hope, and people are searching for places that they can connect, especially when they feel isolated. And you can feel isolated surrounded by hundreds of people and still feel completely alone. But I want to say to you that I hear that change in what you're talking about and you're living. And it goes along with, you know, if today were the last of all days, right? If today was it for us, how would we have spent our moments? And that doesn't mean to put pressure on the moment or panic. It's actually supposed to put freedom on it, and let the things that really matter surface. How we love one another, how we love ourselves. How has stepping into that space for you changed you as a leader?
It's changed me as a leader because I've stopped looking around to see what everyone else is doing. And I'm looking at what we have in front of us who we have and who we have as part of the mission, and how I'm the one that can affect those changes, not the external competing factors, right? It's really easy to get caught up in looking around and seeing what everyone else is doing and then try to be there or try to be better or try to get more. And that hasn't been a healthy change for me in my own life. That leads to a very, very competitive spirit and a lot of conversations in your head that aren't always all that easy to have.
The committee up here is not always right.
Yeah, no, and they talk a lot.
and sometimes we have to tell them to be quiet.
Right. And so I think as a leader, what it's done is it's forced me to look at what I have right now around me and making decisions on what I have right now, right? And who we have and the tools that we have right now. That doesn't stop us from setting goals. The goals can be there, but how you get there can be with compassion. It can be with self-reflection. It can be with leading with each other, coaching each other, finding out where the vulnerabilities are so that you can get to the next step. And really just, I mean, it sounds kind of artificial, but it's really just being true to what you have. And understanding that, you know, we're all trying to do this together. We're all trying to do well. We all have different things that we bring to the table, and it's not a race. It's how we get all of us to participate and do it together so that the team works moving in the same direction. And sometimes that means, you know, your peers or your colleagues or one of your teammates is not where you think they should be, but it's about meeting them where they are so that they can stay on the team. And so that's, I guess, it's not really a clear answer on how I've changed as a leader, but it really is about understanding where everybody's at and using the internal infrastructure, I guess you could say, to move forward versus the competing factors on the external.
You know, I have to be completely honest about something and transparent. When we started talking before we started recording, I said to you that I am familiar with St. John's. I've worked with y'all for over 10 years, and I realized what I did there. I set up a past instead of connecting to the moment with you. So in this moment, I ask you not about the past, not about the present. Well, not about the past and not about the future. What is today Julie Hirota's dream for the women and children of St. John's?
I think that's hard to answer, but I don't know why I'm getting so emotional, but I think it's because...
It's okay. It's because it's real.
The moms and the women can do it. And I want them to know they can. I want them to find that place in themselves that they can do it. And we can have the greatest programs in the country. We can have the best teachers in the country, which I think we do, by the way. But without them knowing that they can do it, without them realizing that they are a great mother, they have to turn that on inside, without those kids realizing that they have everything they need. It's all right there. And so my job as a leader is to say, you have your toolbox, you have everything in your toolbox. Let us just help you use them. That's what I want for St. John's. That's what I want for the women. That's what I want for them as moms. That's what I want for the kids, because once they leave St. John's, the experts will still be available. The resources will still be there for them the rest of their lives. But most importantly, that toolbox that they have inside of them is the most important thing that they have. And they need to know that. And I don't think we teach that We don't teach that in our society. We teach how to move forward, what we need to do next, how to get educated to get into a good school or a better job, instead of saying, you have everything you need right in front of you, you have everything you need right inside of you. That's what I want for St. John's.
It works. It really works. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how low you feel, how high you've been in more ways than one, and how desperate you've been in more ways than one. There is hope. Yeah. And we have to take a chance to find it. If you need help, please seek it, because it is out there in a number of areas and resources. It may not feel like it is right now with everything that's going on in this world, but there is a place for you. Reach out to someone and ask, where can I get help? Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Hirota, the new CEO of St. John's Program for Real Change. Good to see you.
Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.